What is the most fun date you've ever been on? We were paired up as an engaged couple in our high school's mock marriage assignment for seniors, designed to teach you that getting engaged and planning a wedding is hard, so don't do it right away. I secretly had a crush on him, but neither of us made a move because college. Fast forward a few months into college and we ran into each other. We had chosen the same college and didn't know it. We started hanging out and he had the idea to go window shopping for all the furniture we'd need for our new house. Continuing the mock marriage thing, we spent literally an entire day roaming the large furniture store in our city, picking out couches and entertainment stands for our fictitious house, even laying on beds together. We've been together 10 years, married almost 5. He actually reenacted the proposal we had mocked up back in high school. I was working for the high school newspaper and one thing I did each month was write a duo, back and forth article with my friend. It was always just kind of bantering, and we usually made it some type of competition. See who was the better dancer with the dance team, or something students had to deal with. We shared a locker for a week. BC underclassmen had to due to increased enrollment. One month, we decided to see who was the better date. So we were going to take out the same girl and have her grade us. We first searched through the yearbook. This is pre-Facebook. So, of hot chicks we could convince to do this article with us, our editor decided we'd take a girl on the newspaper staff so they could write a response article. And the gal was picked. I didn't know at the time. This girl had a huge crush on me. I had a date planned, with a bruschetta with tomato and prosciutto dinner I made, with a lot of help from my sister, and I made a centerpiece out of red vines and Mr. Pibb. She was a huge SNL fan. We were to then go get dessert at an ice cream shop nearby and then go to a drive-in movie. We ended up just talking for hours, just chomping on licorice and drinking pop. We just got married 2.5 weeks ago. I'd say I won the challenge. What I got from this story is that your editor was being a total bro for her. Indoor rock climbing. It's fairly safe, it's fun, helps build trust, and you get to look up at her butt with no remorse. Actually very similar to paintballing, a physical activity that is not only just fun, but you learn a lot about a person from just more than what they are willing to tell you. For example, she learned to always aim her gun down, and I learned that I don't like being shot in the face. Back in high school I asked out this girl who was way out of my league. For whatever reason she agreed to go on a date with me. Having no car meant walking down to the subway after school, got out to have a bite to eat. Our chemistry was amazing right off the bat and we really hit it off. I took my chances and asked her to be my girlfriend right there and then, and she said yes. Immediately after that the song Celebrate came on in the store. We both laughed so hard. One thing led to another and she became my fiancé. Never got past that. She had unforeseen health problems and didn't live past 23. But she was a great girl, and I miss her. Aquarium. Then whale watching was all that was planned. We had a nice dinner out, then found an ice skating place nearby, and went there too. They also had tubing, and a ship, the Queen Mary, that we explored. The spontaneity of it was the most fun of it, and just spending the whole day with her. Bold move letting her meet your mom on the first date. At that time, I was a grad student with limited cash flow, but we always tried to do special things that was beyond just watching a movie together in our super small apartment. So we found a cheap ride to NYC. Hello $1 Bolt bus rides, went to Alice's Teacup and shared a tower of scones and tea. After filling up on buttery deliciousness, we went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to wander around for a few hours to look at the city from their rooftop. When we had our fill of art, we left to go and walk in Central Park. I had bought a sheet in my backpack. We just set it out to lay on the grass and watched clouds together. It's been a long time since then and we're about to buy a house together and start a family. That's real pretty, mister. There was a point when my boyfriend fell out of love with me. We just drifted. We had stopped trying. I took a week off at my mother's to sob and drink. Then I focused on myself and what I could do to the relationship. My head was filled with plans, in case he ended it, because I wasn't going to. Until then, best effort. So I demanded weekly dates as long as we were still trying. I didn't have a whole lot of money, so I had to make up my dates to be special. I planned a surprise for him, dressed up nicely, and drove him an hour out into the boonies. I took him to a brewery that he loved. It was small and we were the only two there, so we had this long tour and extended Q&A tasting session with the head brewer, a little toasty and giggly. We searched around for a place to eat and found this bar. It wasn't finished, so they were giving out free samples of house beer. It was quiet and the bar was wicked cool. From there, it was dark and we had to stumble off the buzz. Since the bar wasn't up and running, we still hadn't eaten, so we found this hole-in-the-wall burger joint. He came up with a beer to brew, from the IPA and vanilla milkshake flavor combo. It was one of his best. We found a game shop and bought some games and then headed home. I realized we were holding hands. I knew we were going to be alright. We're still together. She drove an hour and a half to meet me in a poorly lit gas station parking lot. We had a lot of time to kill, so we went to a restaurant to eat and start getting to know one another. From there, we went to a divey bar for a drink, where an extremely trashed teenager kept us company and told us all about her ex-boyfriend. Eventually we left and went to a nearby park, where we made out until a policeman shooed us out of the park. All of this was leading up to the midnight showing of an indie slasher movie I'd originally invited her down to see. We stole kisses through the whole movie and laughed our asses off. It was intentionally funny. We were 30 years old, but I felt like I was back in high school in all the best ways. Happy to say it was the first of many great dates. She's the love of my life. She drove an hour and a half to meet me in a poorly lit gas station parking lot. That's trust, right there. This past summer I went on this date venture, which he had planned for us to go on. He took me hiking in the hills, where we got lost several times, took pictures, and would go through these tunnels that were along the way. After the hike, we continued walking through the city until we reached this beautiful lake which had lights running all around its shores, and went to go see a movie at this magnificently restored theater nearby. I think the cutest thing about it was that beforehand we had talked about going, and I had mentioned that I refuse to let guys pay for things when we go out most of the time. So he was joking around the whole time about paying for things for me. Then, all of a sudden, when we got to the movies, he whips out this $100 bill and pays for my movie ticket before I can react. It has been the best date I've been on yet, but looking back on it I realize that he may have liked me way more than I recognized at the time. We held hands briefly in one of the tunnels that were pitch black, but that was about it. He later on in the summer gave me a 50s style toy car as a going away present when I left for school. We went on another date to a drive-in movie theater. What can I say? He knew movies were the way to my heart, and I think back on those days fondly. Most fun activity wise, rock climbing. I'd never been before and a guy I'd gone on a few dates with was super into outdoor stuff and he took me to an indoor rock climbing wall. I actually was not horrible at it, so I really enjoyed it. I have regular dates with my current so that are us playing video games. It's super fun. We play a lot of different stuff and it's a good way to spend time together. My girlfriend and I one day just went and bought some colored pencils and some coloring books and we just spent the whole day talking, coloring, and eating. Sounds stupid, but it was so much fun for us. Does not sound stupid at all. It sounds goofy as frick but ultimately very intimate, minimalistic expressions of love. Since my ex and I broke up in June last year, I haven't felt in the mood to meet other men and date. After reading some of the stories in this thread, I think I might put myself out there and give it a go. I was in the same funk, recently broke up in June. I have been on some dates this past week and it was a lot of fun. I have met some great girls and might possibly end up dating one longer. Completely took my mind off my ex too. Go for it. This was 9 years ago and I had a pay-as-you-go sim, so no access to call records or anything. It's a happy memory now, that's all. Texted a girl's number I saw on a bathroom wall in a club while I was taking a pee. Seems like a nice girl. Thinks it's hilarious how I got her number. Text and call all the time for a couple of months and she says she's coming to my city to see some friends, so we should meet up. Meet up, go for a beer and food. Get on awesome. There's an ice skating rink that comes round every year here and we can see it from the bar we are in. I ask her if she can ice skate. Says she has 20 years ago with her dad, but after he died she'd never been again. I ask if she wants to go with me. In hindsight this could have been the worst thing to say, but she lit up. We skated, she loved it, was so happy, spins me round on the ice, grabs me and kisses me like in a freaking Disney movie. More drinks after, more kisses, awesome night, awesome girl. Leaves on the last train home. Both so happy, what an awesome first date, she keeps saying. Text and call all night and following days. Lost my phone 2 days after we met. This is before Google contact backups and I hadn't written it down. Toilets been repainted. Never saw her again. So the best and the worst in one night really. Won't ever forget it though. We went to the beach for the day and it was amazing. The weather was shite, but that what you come to expect in England. We ate a crap ton of donuts and had fish and chips. Was a brilliant way to start off, which is the best relationship I have ever had and still have. I know I'm the minority, but I can't wrap my head around someone going to a beach when it's not warm enough to play in the water. Either way, your date sounds fun. It was only a few weeks after we started dating. We really barely knew each other. I needed to fly out of state for a family thing. So we took this as an opportunity to be a little goofy and make people smile. We decided to stage a movie scene style long lost lovers airport reunion. I made a really cute dress and wore pearls for the return flight. After getting off my flight, I walked to the baggage claim to find him in a suit that coordinated with my dress, with a big bouquet of flowers and a sign for me. I ran to him and jumped into his arms. It was so silly and sweet. Everybody who saw us smiled. After that we went to a wonderful restaurant, which is now our go-to special restaurant. It was cute and silly and made everybody from a little old man traveling to a woman working an airport food stand a little happier. Most importantly, we had a slightly outlandish idea and actually carried it through. That is basically when I decided I would marry him one day. I was on a cruise as part of a university course. During the second evening we had a semi-formal dinner with all involved. No seating planned though. I had agreed to sit with my cabin mates at a table, but I lost them. As I entered the restaurant I was looking for anyone I knew to sit with. I've always been introverted, so once again I didn't really have many friends or know many people. I spot this American girl with whom I'd exchanged a couple of words with before. I ask if I can sit at her table and she agrees. We end up talking until everyone else leaves the restaurant and until the waiters ask us to leave. We sit down at the bar with her friends but just continue on talking with each other. We talked about pretty much everything. Ourselves, our history, politics and gun policy, vegetarianism, philosophy. We ignored everything and everyone around us. Eventually her friends moved on and we were left alone. Around 3 AM when the nightclub closed and everyone went to their cabins, we decided to go crash as well. It was the most genuine connection I've ever had. After that we've become very close friends. Well, that didn't end the way I expected it to. Went to the Museum of Science in Boston, then out to dinner. Any sort of science museum is fun, interesting, and there's plenty to talk about if you run out of regular topics. Bostonian here, can confirm. A while back, I got hit up by a recently divorced friend, former crush from middle and high school when she was going to be in my town. I wasn't sure if it was a date or just catching up. I knew she was kind of a foodie, so I got us a table at a local place that makes all their own pasta, charcuterie, etc., thinking that I would at least get a good meal out of it. 5 minutes after being seated, yup, it's a date and it is on. We have a fabulous server who is super into us and the fact that we are obviously hitting it off. We spend a couple of hours sharing tasty nibbles of various small plates and talking 90 miles per hour about everything from religion to underwear. Then we take a walk around the local hipster district with great old Civil War era architecture, while we wait for a show to start down the street. Went to the show, featuring our local No BS brass band, had a couple of beers, danced a bunch. I don't really dance, but that band is awesome and my lady friend was all about it, so I said frick it, and we made out like teenagers on the dance floor. We decided to go back to her hotel to hit up the indoor pool and hot tub, but I had to go back to my place to let my dogs out first. Long story short, she meets my dogs and we don't make it back to her hotel till noon the next day. Next night, repeat. Night after that, she goes back to her city. Took a long walk on San Gregorio Beach with a beautiful blonde. The weather was grey and wind began to pick up. There is something beautiful about a beach when it's grey and late in the afternoon. We drove down to Santa Cruz and had cheap calamari and a couple of beers on the wharf and yelled at the seagulls trying to get our pathetic dinner. No crowds anywhere. The day was meant for us. We've been married for 7 years with a toddler and 3 dogs. It was a particularly tough week for both of us and we were exhausted, but damn it we had a babysitter. We literally backed out of the driveway, parked on the side of the road, talked for about an hour, took a quick nap, then drove back up the driveway after the kiddo was asleep, made sandwiches and played board games. As the parent of a 2-year-old, this sounds glorious. Took a lovely young lady go-kart racing and followed it up with some laser tag. We ended up sitting on a hill drinking while the sun set, talking, making out for what seemed like hours. Found out she had a boyfriend, which sucked because she was pretty decent at laser tag. You know what to do then. Ask her to lure the BF to a laser tag tournament where you both duel for her hand. May the best man win. After you win, kill them both and hide their corpses in the laser tag arena and laugh as kids mistake them for cheats who crawl during matches. Mystery date. Had been seeing a girl for coffees drinks for a few weeks and decided that I wanted to take her out on a date. Picked something generic. Dinner and a movie. Halfway through dinner, the conversation turns to what movie we should see. Ideas flew around and we sort of decided on one. At this point I say, alright, so now we have a decision. We can go to the movie or you can have the mystery date. At which point I pull out an envelope with mystery date written on it. Obviously the person will pick the mystery date. If they are hesitant, just tell them it's a one-time offer. The mystery date instructions came in a large yellow envelope, like a spy mission. There were separate letters addressed to each of us. There was one piece of paper in the envelope that was called instructions. Basically, she had to open and complete her envelope before I could open mine. Her envelope just said, personality test. Please write down 20 things you think of when you think of home, city, town, whatever. When complete, have other person open and complete their task. So she writes down 20 things and folds up her note and I open my envelope. My envelope is the rules. It's a scavenger hunt. You see, rules based on our city, driving times, etc. With that we had to find everything on the list and take a picture. Make sure to bring a camera of ourselves with it. You also couldn't take a picture of more than 2 things on the list at the same stop. We had 90 minutes to complete. Oh, and there was a prize. Learned a lot about her that night. There was a water park her parents used to take her to, a vending machine outside her lab. She was a grad student at the time, which had a broken button giving free 7-Up, and things she liked to do around the city. It also made us work together to figure out the best routes and we spent the next 90 minutes having a blast. I could not believe how excited she was for it. We ended up getting the last picture with about 8 minutes left on the timer, so she got a prize, which just so happened to be 2 movie vouchers which turned into our second date. Been together for almost 3 years and likely a lot more. I saved all the pictures that night and am planning to put it together into a photo collage or a photo book to give her on a special occasion. You have to put it into a photo album, and after the last page, have a ring sitting in it and propose. You have to. We went to an Orioles game. Before the game we went to the bar across the street. Pickles, 4 $1 beers and hot dogs. The game was great. My team won. It was a 4 PM game so it was still early when it ended. We were walking to Fells Point and he happened to mention a band we both liked was playing at our outdoor venue nearby. We bought lawn tickets and lay out on the grass listening to the music and holding hands. Afterwards we grabbed a drink in Fells at a bar with live music. That was the best single date I've ever been on. The whole thing kind of fizzled out, but I think my current boyfriend and I have much more consistently awesome dates. We live in a major city with tons of things to do and we are both pretty active. After the second time I slept over, we grabbed brunch and made a list of things to do together. It includes sporting events, museums, bars with fireplaces, places to ice skate, bouldering, camping when it gets warm, bands we want to see, touristy things we've never done, etc. But even when we stay in and cook meals together, he'll put on songs and dance me around the kitchen. Baltimore. I am moving there in a couple weeks, considering Fells Point, but I have to decide pretty soon. To the airport. before the draconian days of that siren shoe removal. I was a poor college student and had a date with a hot visual arts student with really short black hair and butt you could bounce a quarter on. I had no money and was challenged to think of something different and creative. The airport was free. We people watched, made up backstories for them, made up dialogues between people from far away, played Spot the Spy. Every major airport must have at least one spy in it at all times. It's a rule, I think. We walked up to those limo guys holding signs and pretended to be who they were looking for. Hi, we're the Smiths. Oh, you're looking for the Smiths. Never mind. And when we were pretending to be spies, I told her our cover was blown and to follow my lead and kissed her. For a guy whose only exposure to anything smooth is a jar of Skippy, I'm still proud of that one. Then we went and watched planes take off and land, Wayne's World style. We went on a few more dates, but nothing ever happened. Not even an under the shirt, over the bra squeeze. But that was still the best date I've ever been on. Well, this comment's getting buried. I want to share anyways. I was interested in a girl I knew, so I asked her out to coffee. I picked her up there. We talked the entire way and spent 30 minutes in the Starbucks parking lot just talking about our families. It was at this time that we basically figured out she was the color and gender flipped version of me. We got my coffee, tea for her, and talked for another 15 minutes in the parking lot before going back to my apartment. We watched V for Vendetta. The movie finished at about 9 p.m. Her sister, who she lives with, wanted her home by 10. We sat there until 11 talking about, well, everything. We're still together. Super fun and casual. Walked from my house to a converted convent nearby. Sat in the gardens and had some drinks. Had delicious pay-as-you-feel veggie food. Then walked along the river back to my house, stopping and sitting for a while to watch the bats fly overhead and Makiat. It was really relaxed, but organized, and was just a really fun night. I brought him skiing and taught him how, and since it was a warmish day, I was wearing jeans, so apparently he got to stare at my butt when I was ahead of him. I've always thought that wearing jeans just made a hot day hotter. Wearing jeans also makes a hot girl hotter. An hour late, but I'll post anyway. Met a guy at a party. Had a good chat, and when I got home he had found me on Facebook and written an adorable message about being too shy to ask me out in person. We went for dinner, played pool, and then at about 10 p.m. he took me out on his boat. We were the only ones in the harbor on a perfect night. Obviously was a bit swept off my feet. On the negative side, the bar has now been set extremely high. When I got home he had found me on Facebook. Then at about 10 p.m. he took me out on his boat. We were the only ones in the harbor on a perfect night. I'm surprised you're still alive. After a few first dates with different people that involved places such as restaurants, the cinema, and insert cliche date place here, I was pretty bored. Then I met this girl. I asked her what she wanted to do and kept bringing up fancy ideas to impress her. She replied with, "I want to stay in bed with you, wearing little to no clothes. I want to eat and watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. Best date ever. Been together for 5 years. You'll really like the third movie when you get to it." Our first date after we broke up. I had been dating her for a few months. She had been seeing another guy and I was casually dating as well. There was total honesty with all involved, but I was in love with her. The dates with the other girls came fewer and farther between, while I sought to see her almost any moment I could. Finally, I broke it off with the other two girls amicably and focused all my attention on her. Then one night, we were going on a date when she got a phone call from the other guy she was dating. She talked to him for 5 minutes on the phone while I stood next to her in the cold. When she hung up, I told her I wanted her to stop seeing him. I told that she was the only woman in the world I was interested in her, and she said no. I nodded and told her we were going to take a 2-week break. No dates, no phone calls, nothing, to see if she could live without me. 5 days later the phone rang. She invited me to dinner and to a hockey game. I don't remember where we ate. I don't remember who won the hockey game. I just remember her in her bright orange hoodie and her big brown green eyes smiling at me the whole night. We made out in the cold January air for an hour outside her apartment. I told her I loved her and she said thank you. My heart was crushed. I got home and went to sleep. The next morning she called me and asked me to come over. She needed to talk to me. I was ready to be dumped. As I walked into her apartment, she threw her arms around me and gave me the second greatest kiss I've ever experienced. With tears in her eyes, she told me she loved me too. 2 years later, she gave me the greatest kiss of my life, the moment after the priest announced us man and wife. And for the last 8 years, she's made me the happiest husband, father and man in the world. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.